Hi, my name is Mark Moskal, and I'd like to talk to you today about the upcoming holidays and why that's important to the people we support, and not only to them, but to you also as an employee. I'd like to, kind of first start off talking about authorizations and scheduling, kind of some of the boring stuff like that, and then really get in to the meat and potatoes about why holidays are important, not only to the people we support, but also to you guys, and it just, how they can be a stressful time and what we can do to make it an easier transition for the people we support. So a little bit about myself. My name, as I said, is Mark Moskal. I'm the Assistant Chief Financial Officer for the BIOS Corporation. In this picture, I'm also a guardian for a lady we support out of our Sapulpa, Tulsa office. Her name is Robin Nicholson. She's pictured on the left here, and my son is in the middle, and my mother-in-law, Diane Forler, who's also an employee for BIOS, and is also Robin's sister, is on the right. So a little bit about myself and why I'm kind of qualified to have this discussion. First from the financial standpoint, I'll have experience as a financial program manager and working with the authorizations. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the making sure we have the proper units in place and that the schedule is in place so that the right people are in the right place at the right time. But I also have a lot of experience, with our employees, spending time with Robin and bringing them to family events, and some tips and tricks about how to make that easier, not only for you as the employee, but for Robin as well, or for the person that you're supporting, so that they get to enjoy the holidays. It's not stressful for you, and just things kind of get to move and run a little bit smoother. So that's kind of the gist of what I'll be talking to you about, and a little bit about myself. Um, get into the boring part first here. Um, Authorizations are obviously a very big and important part of what we do. An authorization comes from the state, and it allows us to staff an individual. And so we are authorized a certain amount of hours every day that we are supposed to be with that and staff that individual. So before a holiday comes up, there's obviously normal staffing levels that you are currently utilizing. So that may be anywhere from a couple hours a day all the way up to double staffing 24 hours a day. And so you need to be familiar with your normal staffing levels, and what that is and what that consists of. So if you have, if a person is supposed to receive supports for 8 hours a day, then whenever you go to somebody's house for a holiday or you're planning something in advance, you need to know that those particular staffing levels are going to have to be maintained. The same thing for staffing requirements. So if a person has, they're supposed to have double staffing 24 hours, then that same requirement is going to be in effect regardless of if it's today or if it's Christmas Day when you're going to that person's house. So you have to make sure that these requirements are being met. Um, Requesting additional units. Specifically, if your person that you support lives in a house with a couple of other folks, a lot of times whenever you're going to be going either on a trip, a vacation, or over to a family member's house, you might need additional units so that the staffing levels and staffing requirements can be maintained. So requesting additional units becomes extremely important, and it's a process by which we need to plan ahead. So you can contact your financial program manager, your program level program manager, or if that's yourself, you can talk to your lead, and with help on how to request additional units. And essentially what that is it's a process by which we contact the state and say, hey, we're going to be having Billy, and he's going to go visit his family. Usually he only gets 8 hours a day, but it's an overnight trip, so we need additional hours so that we can staff him appropriately. And your FPM will work with you to send in paperwork and a unit request so that we can get those additional units, so that our staffing levels and staffing requirements can be maintained. Also just planning ahead is super important. because first of all, getting those units can be timely, can take a while. And then also, the more planning you do, and the better off you will be when it comes to reducing the stress level that already be associated with a holiday. So I want to talk briefly about scheduling. Obviously, as you can see here, there are a couple of screenshots of what you will see on your particular schedule on Paycom, and what you'll see on the Schedule Exchange if you utilize that. But it's important to know your house schedule, specifically if you're going to be making a big change. So if generally you only have one person in the house with 3 folks, and you know that one of those guys is going to be going to a family member's house, it's important to plan and know the schedule so that the proper staffing levels are maintained. So knowing the house schedule is important. Making changes in advance, talking with your lead and your FPM or your PLPM if that's not you, so that you know and have the proper people in place so that all the proper staffing requirements are maintained. Utilize Paycom. It's what it's there for. You can look on your calendar under your employee login to see what you're supposed to work. And if you need to offer up any shifts, obviously that's what the Schedule Exchange is for. Or if we're going to be adding a shift because we're going to be providing additional staffing, that can also be put up on Paycom for people to pick up. So Paycom is an additional tool that needs to be used that will help make your life a little bit easier when it comes to planning a holiday trip or a holiday excursion just to go spend some time with family. And finally, is just like I've stated, just continue to speak with everybody involved in the team, leads and the PLPM or the FPM. They can help plan and help make sure all the proper supports are in place so that the person we serve and yourself are properly protected from a authorization standpoint before we do these trips. So get into to items that are a little bit more fun. This is Robin with her priest at the church that she was attending. And some of the importance of holidays, as you can see, a big smile on her face, is being connected. Obviously, holidays are important because it allows us to be around family. It allows us to be around our community, and it allows us to be connected with other people. Getting to celebrate a Thanksgiving dinner or a Christmas dinner or going to a church service or whatever it may be, being connected is extremely important, not only for the people we support, but it's important to everyone. So is a sense of belonging. Knowing that you belong to a community, knowing that you belong to a group of organization of people that love you and care for you and want to be around you is extremely important. It's extremely important to us as human beings. And so the holidays can really bring that out and can be a stressor if people don't necessarily have family or loved ones around. So keeping that in mind as we come into the holiday season, getting to spend time with our family and our loved ones and knowing what is important to and important for the person that you're serving and the person that you're supporting. It may be extremely important that they just have a phone call with a family member or a loved one on a holiday. It may be extremely important that they get to actually go and visit that person and spend an overnight trip at a family member's house, or maybe a week-long trip. So knowing that what's important to and important for, it may be important to and for, depending on the situation. So knowing those things and knowing how family and loved ones play a role in the person that you support's life and the person you support's, how involved family members are, can be essential in reducing the stress and also making it enjoyable so that things go smoothly. Planning ahead is very important. As I hit upon in the last slide, obviously knowing the person you support. Do they have family members or loved ones involved in their life? And if they do they want to be around them? And if so, helping them plan so that they can do so. Do they have a family or a guardian? If they don't have a family in place, is there a guardian in place that they like to spend time with? If the person doesn't have any family or guardian or any type of community by which they like to spend time outside of the home with, look at other plans, other events that are going on. Different offices have different company events, or different little parties or get-togethers. And so knowing what those things are, and utilizing those things and having a backup plan in case a person wants to be involved in something during the holidays but doesn't necessarily have a large family or people to be around. So just kind of being in the know, staying in touch with your local office, and updates on Therap and Paycom will keep you will keep you in the know regarding what events are available and what things are happening. And finally, knowing locations and times are extremely important. Being on time to places and knowing where to go are all are simple tasks that will help you in kind of reducing your stress and reducing the stress for the person you support as you guys are heading out to attend an event. So things to bring if you are going to go if you're going to take, for example, if Robin was going to be taken to her family's house, it's obviously important to bring the tablet so that you can document appropriately and have all the necessary information in case anything does go wrong. Having medications on hand are extremely important. Any special or needed items. One example is, Robin has a special cup that she likes to drink out of. It makes it easier for her to enjoy dinner and enjoy, situations when she has that cup that has a straw that helps her drink. She also has a special little wash towel that she likes to carry that's important for her, that she has, because she likes to play with it in her hands and it helps her feel comfortable in her environment. Along those same lines, making sure you bring any adaptive equipment that is necessary. Robin does have a wheelchair, so making sure her wheelchair is brought. But if your person doesn't have adaptive equipment, then this particular item is not applicable to you. And then making sure if it's an overnight trip that all the appropriate clothes and toiletries are brought, and making sure the right type of clothes. I mean, are you going to go into a formal dinner, or is it just a relaxed family deal? So knowing what type of event is going to occur is obviously going to drive the type of packing that needs to happen. Tips for a successful trip. Know where you're going, and I mean that in a couple of different ways, and it kind of goes along with know your audience. But obviously know physically the location that you're going. A lot of times these aren't locations that you travel to very often, so getting the instructions and the directions and making sure that you leave with plenty of time so that you can be there on time. It's important for the family and important for the person you support to be there on time. It always looks bad when you show up late, and can add additional stress when it's not needed. So showing up on time and knowing where you're going just helps reduce that stress. So there's not any last second panic or struggle with how to get to where you need to be. As I hit earlier, dress for the occasion. Obviously, if you guys are going to a formal dinner or if it's a nice church service, then you're going to want to dress up a little bit nicer and have the person that you're helping out make sure that their clothes are clean and dressed appropriately for where they're going. Be discreet, I put on there, and that's something from a family perspective I think helps the person that you're supporting. If it's time to give meds, you don't need to make a big scene or a big show of, okay, Billy, let's go take your meds, it's time. Rather, just going up to the person and just saying, hey, let's go take your meds real quick, and we'll get right back in here and hanging out again. Knowing a good time, a good break, a natural break to do those things, or to help that person use the restroom, or whatever it may be. But kind of just being discreet, you're there as a person to help and support, and doing so with discretion is extremely important. And I think it also helps. It just helps things run smoother. And then know your audience. Obviously, if it's hanging out with family or if it's something more formal, just knowing where you're going, and if it's playing games or if it's going to be something where you need to be a little more serious, and helping the person you support plan for those things and know what to expect, are all things and are all items that can help make for a successful trip. No family, no problem. I know a lot of the people that we support not necessarily have family that they like to spend time with, or family that they're actively involved with. And if not, that's okay. People around the holidays still generally want to spend time with others. So come up with alternative plans. As I stated earlier, there are office events that are always going on, staying in the know of what is happening, or coming up with a event there at the house, starting your own tradition. Getting together with other people that you support, or finding a church group or a church activity, just starting other traditions, starting new traditions, and getting input from the person that you help, knowing what they want to do, what they like, and finding out how you can help to get them involved if that's what they choose to do so. Obviously, if that's not their bag and they prefer to be alone or spend time by themselves, then that's fine as well. I just with the holidays, people generally like to be together. Um, I put here at the end, when is it okay to go to your, meaning the employee's house or family events? Um, I think the best way to kind of answer that question is, where is the motivation coming from? Is this for you? Is this the employee, or is this for the person you support? If the person you support doesn't have any family and is needing something to do for the holidays, and they become part of your family, it is okay for them to go to your house or family event. But it's very important that that's something that the person wants to do, and it's because it's their plans, not yours. Finally, team involvement is important, especially if a person is going to be going to your personal house or family event. Making sure that the team is aware, the team being the case manager, or any other ETL or OCA, or anybody involved in that circle of supports. It's important that they are aware that they're going to be going to your house, and that you have the appropriate approval if that's going to be occurring. So anyway, if a person doesn't have any natural family or a group they like to hang out with, talking to them in advance kind of help ease the tensions around the holidays, so that they come up with alternative plans, or a new tradition that they want to try out and implement. So I will kind of leave you with this. Let's get started now planning. We have Thanksgiving and Christmas that are coming up, and other holidays as well. And so you can have great experiences, and it can be a lot of fun, and stress can be low if you kind of follow some of these things I talked about. Reaching out and planning, some of the boring stuff, the scheduling and the authorizations first, and then talking about really the meat and potatoes of how you can make a good experience for that holiday dinner, or get together with family, or an office event. They can be a lot of fun. They really mean a lot as far as getting involved in the community and feeling as if you belong to something kind of bigger than yourself. So I encourage you to get started now, planning and having fun. So enjoy your holiday season.